Hello, Marco. Good afternoon. Thank you for your patience with me as I am working through lots of different OOUX things you will see very soon with the prioritization round. But needed a little bit of a break, so I decided to go back to your homework. Thank you again for being patient with me as I have a lot going on. But you got some really good questions here that I would like to answer in your relationship requirements. So let's get to it. So you had a question here on, let's see, the object is seasonal festival, has one-to-many product pairings it's associated with. And you said, sort. What I came up with here are attributes of the product. On this junction object, product pairing is nothing to sort on. The idea, there needs to be another nesty product by a product pairing, which would have these sorting filterings, but the junction object would not have any. Okay, let's talk about it for a second. So, if you are taking in you have a junction object, right? You have a product pairing. You not only can sort, filter, and group on the attributes within that object, but also you can pull from an object beyond that as well. So given that this is a junction object between product and something else, you can, on the product pairing object, sort, filter, and group by the things that exist within product as well, and the things that exist in other related objects. So you would pull through, you would say, I am sorting by the attribute here on product through product pairing. And that's one of these proxy relationship or indirect relationships. That's a great use of that. So I would, you don't need to put it in again. You can say, I'm pulling through the other relationship. I'm pulling through this relationship to the other relationship, if that makes sense. Festival occurrence. So a user would only see his celebrations, yep, which are not so many, agreed, which would imply no sorting and filtering. Yes, agreed. Regarding the whole system, this would be different. What mental model are we looking for here? So you make a great point. If you are looking at festival occurrence has zero to many celebrations it is observed in, there is the way that's listed for a user where they would only see their celebrations. Is there an admin view of this on festival occurrence? If I'm an admin and I go to festival occurrence, do I see everybody's celebrations? And if that's true, then this min, max, and average, you would have one of those for the role of user, and then you would say, but if I'm an admin, I would see minimum 0, maximum, let's just say 5,000, and average, I don't know, 500. I'm not sure. I guess we were saying there's 500 users in the system to start. Then it would become important for an admin on this screen to be able to sort, to filter, and to group. So that's not typically, it's something that I would do, but like the only reason I do it is because I kind of know, like I know that like this will be a question that needs to be answered. The fact that you didn't answer it here in the documentation is fine. It's a question you'll probably answer later when you're thinking about roles. Anyways, what you answered here is fine, but if you were to think about the admin views, do the admin views for these nested objects look different? And that's the way that I would talk about your sorts, your filters, and your groups. Privacy. Okay, let's talk about privacy for a second because it's difficult. Private can see his own celebrations only. Yep. To my understanding of this video, this would be wrong as it would be privacy on the celebration object. So in this case, we would skip this section and assume privacy is taken from the nested object. So the way that I would do this is I would say privacy is the same as the celebration object. And if there was an exception that for some reason a nested relationship would have a different privacy level than the host object, if as a host object that has different privacy and permission than as a nested object, I would talk about the exceptions in here, but rather if they are the same, I would just say, refer back to the object guide for celebration, for privacy and permission, because this is a very important thing to know, and you come from a computer science background, so you know this. Like, you really want to only write once and refer everywhere for these types of requirements, because if you write duplicative requirements in multiple places, if they change in one place, you might miss them in another place. So the point here is, if the privacy does not change between when it's a host object versus a nested object, then just say it does not change. Otherwise, if it does change, then say it changes. Okay? Privacy. All right. Public, as the host object is private already. Okay, this is where it gets funny. This is one of those moments where if you say that the host object is private and you want the nested object to also be private, just stick with that. If you want it to be different, then change that. User celebrating, right? So user celebrating. This might be one of those moments where you might say it's private by default, but could be marked public. Meaning, if somebody else if somebody goes to the festival occurrence, can't remember exactly what festival occurrence is. This is what happens when sometimes assignments are disconnected. What I would do now is go back to the object guide for festival occurrence to see what this was, and then see if it makes sense at all for user to even have a public option. So regardless, I think you're right here. Just don't get too hung up on this idea of like chaining privacy and permissions. Just try to be as clear as possible. This is documentation, so just be as clear as possible with whomever is going to read it that doesn't require your voiceover to understand what to do. That's essentially what I would do here. Ritual. Whole system versus user view. We talked a little bit about that. Thinking through like what it means for the user, what it means for somebody else that comes in as a user to look at it versus the admin would be interesting. Okay, and then private, again, this is wrong, obsolete, celebration is private. Okay, all good there. But this is great work, and hopefully that makes sense. If you have any more questions, let me know. And thanks again for your patience. Be well, take care, happy OOUXing.